All right, welcome everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Chart Request Live. My name's Patrick Donawilla. Joining me again today is Sam Gatlin. Sam, how are we doing today?
I'm good, Patrick. How
All
are
right,
you?
well, you guys know the show. You guys request the tickers. We take a look at them, give you our technical take on them. As always, we give priority to those who email us beforehand. And if you want to have us take a look at your tickers beforehand next time, make sure you get us those tickers. Email us at questions at stockmarketmedia.com, and we'll get to them first next time on Tuesday. So Sam, let's start off with the broader market a little bit. Here we are, we've been talking about this Fibonacci extension. I mean, really, we've been seeing it. It's been the target since the breakout, right? And here we hit it. We didn't spend much time at it at all. And then we got this 8.5% correction. And here we are back at it again. I don't know if it looks like we filled that gap today, didn't we? And
Yeah,
then just dumped. Yeah, so we filled the gap and then, struggling right at that logical Fibonacci level. It's also the underside of this trend line off the October lows. I know trend lines get some hate, but there's no denying that there's something going on there. And I think it would make sense to see a little bit of pickup in volatility. We can't make it too easy for the bulls, right? Little sell off into the weekend. Maybe we have that Jackson Hole meeting tomorrow. I'm
yes,
not saying that will happen for sure, but it would make an awful lot of sense, wouldn't it?
definitely. Yeah, it could be the event that sends us to new all-time highs, but it
It
also
could
could
be too. Absolutely,
result in
yeah.
more downside here.
It's one or the other, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
going to really shake out the bulls,
yeah.
or it's going to bring us to all-time highs.
Probably not
Uh,
going sideways here.
right, right. Or we just end up with a big doji, right? Uh, but let's get right into it. Unless you got any thoughts on the market. I know you were talking about bonds earlier. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, primary trend reversals are printing. You look at something like HYG or AG, LQD, these corporate bonds resolving higher here. I think that's
Yeah, that
very important.
ag, really clean level on ag too, right? And
Yeah,
look at that. You can even draw a little head and shoulders if you wanted. That's
definitely.
nice.
These are textbook reversal patterns.
Yeah, and they could take a while to play out, but that also means that the subsequent uptrend will also, hopefully be in place for a while too.
Definitely.
And look at that, almost oversold here or overbought.
Overbought.
Yeah,
Yes. Love to see it.
love to see it. So let's get right into it.
Let's do it. So Dan said the homies are ripping. Let's take a look at KBH. He'd like you to zoom all the way out, show the huge base. He's long above 85. Or
Yeah,
wants to be long above 85.
the homies. This is such an important group too. They led us into the bull market in 2023 along with semiconductors, and it was important because at the time it wasn't apparent that we were in a bull market. It wasn't cool yet to say that, to recognize that. It was still very much, oh, we're heading towards recession, inflation is the problem, all that. But meanwhile, you saw two of the most kind of cyclical groups, home builders and semis, just taking off, breaking out to new all-time highs. And that was what I remember got us first asking the question, like, wait, if these groups are breaking out to all-time highs, is this really a bear market? Like, is this, are we dealing with something uh, potentially positive? Are these economically sensitive sectors saying that we're not going into recession? So really important group here to this bull market. I think you need them to hold up. If they don't, that would definitely cause us to ask some questions. But they're holding up just fine. Here we are, just barely off all-time highs. I think as long as we're above the 69.60 level, you're looking to 97.30 as your next target. And this, you have KB Homes here, but we could look at any of the other ones. We'll look at Lennar after this. DHI, right? They all
Yeah.
look like this, Sam, right?
I want to look at DHI on a relative basis. It's got
Sure.
a multi-decade base on a relative basis that it's trying to resolve higher from.
Oh, and then a lot of the home builders had this failed top too, right? Just like
Yeah.
software did. Yeah. So, and those are just resolving, right? Like we're just seeing the all-time highs in the last few weeks off those failed tops. So, You said DHI on a relative basis, right?
Yeah,
To the SPY?
sure. Yeah. Russell 3000, SPY, whatever. Zoom all the way out. Look at
Those would
that.
give you two different things, wouldn't they? Russell?
Uh, Pretty much the same.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just the wow, that is a really nice base.
Yeah, right?
Very nice base, Sam.
Love
Excellent
this
find.
one.
Now, is that home builders in general? I'm sorry, we'll get to more tickers. This is interesting. Okay, you kind of have that. And then ITB. Yeah. Some nice bases. And that's really important, that the relative trend there for these sectors. You look at something like semis and how much that relative trend has mattered to the group and how much semis matter to the broader market. So looking at these relative trends can be really, really important. And these look good.
Absolutely.
They look like the coast is clear, green light, right?
Yeah. You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Nick wants to look at AstraZeneca,
Okay.
or AZN.
Yeah.
So this is from the United
Sam,
Kingdom.
you, my friend, are the pharma expert. If you guys don't know Sam, he grew up in a pharma family, right? You guys had some independent pharmacies. So anyway, AstraZeneca, tell me everything you know about it.
Well, it's a big deal. One of the largest drug manufacturers in the world, headquartered in the United Kingdom. It's a $265 billion company.
Whoa. And they don't develop the drugs, like they don't do the research behind them. They're the
They
ones
do a little bit, but
it.
primarily they're buying biotech companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that trend, right? Beautiful uptrend here.
Yeah.
We could draw the trend, but you guys see it. It's there. And resolving out of this nice little base. Is that like almost a year-long base here?
Yeah.
You got the retest here, and we're taking off already. Something tells me we're probably near a target, though. Yeah. So we're getting real close to that 86.50 level, where I would like to be a seller at that level. Does that mean that the trend's completely over and that the stock is going into a bear market after this? No, it could definitely chop around here. Point is you've already had a really nice move. Asking for more at this point is probably asking too much. You're running into this resistance level where it's a great place to take off some profits. Maybe you buy the retest here in a couple weeks, in a few months. But at this one, it's a tough spot to be starting a new position here. I would rather be a seller at this one. But that being said, it's a really strong trend, really strong stock that I would not bet against. I would never short this one here.
No, me either.
And look at this RSI confirming here, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a divergence. You have it making a new high with price. That's important too. So if it does, by chance, if it just completely ignores what I said and just rips right through 86.50, which is totally possible, 102.59 is your next Fibonacci target. But I think you probably do run into some resistance here, especially given how nice these last few weeks have been. A little consolidation here would make a lot of sense.
For
But
sure.
oh man, the RSI profile here is just like textbook, because you just don't have any oversold readings. And here we have RSI just steadily in a bullish range, confirming these new highs. So beautiful chart.
It's a strong one.
And also, what do you want to talk about pharma in general as far as just the trend and the outlook for the space? Because I know healthcare looks great, right?
Yeah.
And here we are kind of in this middle innings of the bull market, where you'd expect some of those riskier areas to start working. What do you think?
Yeah, it kind of has a defensive tilt to it, for sure. But they do work in bull markets, and I'm open to anything that goes up in a bull market. So
Yeah.
I don't want to ignore these stocks by any means. They're very important, large companies. Fresh breakouts, I like that a lot. Look at something like NVS, Novartis, another massive one. This
yeah.
one is Swiss, $230 billion. This one's made a good move.
Yeah, for sure.
I know Sean's been using options with some of these large pharma companies. I think there's some really good opportunities if you're willing to sit on some call options for 12 months or something. I like that
Yeah.
strategy a lot.
Yeah, especially with these biotechs where, it's almost like they've had so many starts and stops that it's getting exhausting at this point.
Yeah.
With options, you can at least sleep a little bit at night knowing that you have your risk controlled and that if they go, you'll participate. And if they don't, so be it.
Right. Let's move on to the chat. We've covered everything in the mailbag.
Nice.
Dan wants to look at TBBK. So this is a regional bank from the US. It's $2.5 billion.
Okay.
It also has notable short interest, Patrick. It has
Really?
almost 17% short interest. And
Man,
12 days to cover.
if you had told me this was a regional bank, I don't know if I would have believed you. Or if you told
Does
me,
not look like a regional bank.
right? If you said, "Hey, guess what this is?" I wouldn't have said regional bank.
Yeah.
I mean, how many regional banks do you know that are up and to the right like this? Like,
Very few.
yeah. So these two fibs are pretty important. It's the Fibonacci extensions from this 2014 to 2020 decline. It's a pretty grueling decline, but you finally broke out in the end of 2021. And it's just kind of been chopping around these levels. It's been kind of messy when you're between them, but when you're around them, those are your clear levels. So if it's above this 50 level, this 261.8 extension in red here. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Yeah, then you're airing to the upside 74.87, so right around 75, call it.
Not a bad move there.
Yeah, 47.50 gets you to 75-ish.
I like it. Will you benchmark it to like a KRE? Something like that?
I guess you have to, right? Right?
Let's see what it looks like. I bet it's up and to the right.
Yeah. And look at that. Look at that relative trend.
So nice.
Normally we don't look at ratios and candlesticks, but you they give you a little bit more information when you do. It's just sometimes it's a little choppier, and oftentimes you have these ugly gaps in ratio charts. But look at this. I mean, we've outperformed for something like, or TBBK. What did I say? What's that? Like 15 weeks or something like that. That's insane. That's like, what is that? Like 4 months or something of just no one down week maybe.
Right.
And we fell, 1%, 1.5%.
And regional banks have been working, like not in recent weeks, but
that's
when you
true.
got that upside resolution in the IWM, regional banks were some of the best stocks to own during that time.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a chicken before the egg thing, because regional banks are so important to the Russell that was it like the Russell got the new high first?
Yeah.
Or the
regional banks were moving before.
Yeah, you're right. But I don't hate regional banks too. I think it makes sense that they bumped their head here because it ran into this gap from where it initially gapped down in that banking crisis. So when we finally returned to that gap area, you can see that's where we started having trouble here. It's a very logical level to have trouble at. I think we probably do go back and test it, and we probably get it done that time. But this one's going to require patience, I think.
It's a big level.
Unless you're TBBK, then you don't need patience on your side. Then you're just good.
Right. And interest rates coming down should not hurt these banks. That's a good tailwind to have. I know that's been a big problem for these companies.
Yeah, that's
kind of what caused Silicon Valley to blow up.
Yeah, and now that we're looking at this in a little bit shorter or daily chart, we said if it breaks above this red line, but it can be tough to find confirmation of that, right? Because technically it's above it now, so you could buy it here. But I would like to see these highs taken out as confirmation that we're leaving this Fibonacci extension here. So, confirmed close around 52 would probably do it for me.
You could also drop a WAP from that pivot high there.
I imagine it's probably, yeah. But you could use that as your risk level, right? So you put your stop there, move it up as the VWAP goes up every day.
Right. We've got Rick in the chat. What's up, Rick? He wants to look at the USD ZAR.
Ooh. Man, I'm not the person to ask as far as currencies. It's just not my forte. But so what are we looking at here? The U.S. dollar versus the South African rand.
Yes.
Now, Sam, a lot of these, would you call this an emerging market currency?
Yeah, I would. They also have a lot of exposure to natural resources.
Oh, okay, so it's
gold
kind of a
stocks there.
commodity. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I mean, I don't really have too many thoughts on this one, to be honest. If you're looking at it for information, maybe, I mean, is there any more context? Did he say?
No, he didn't say anything else.
I mean, listen, RSI isn't getting oversold here. You're reclaiming these former lows. The risk is probably to the upside here. But let's move on. Let's get back to exactly.
So, we've got Frank asking to look at Uber.
Yes.
Uber is $154 billion.
Frank, thanks for bringing us back.
They have it listed as
nothing against the South African rand.
Yeah.
I'm an equities guy. I like looking at stock.
So is this technology or is this industrial, Patrick?
Oh man, that's a good debate. So it's technically, it is classified as an industrial, right? But I mean, I'm with Straza on his outlook that we should just get rid of the technology sector. I think it's wishful thinking. I don't think it'll ever happen, but it makes sense. Get rid of the technology sector and reclassify everything, because technically everything has technology. I mean, you could say Domino's. I remember when Domino's was saying that they were a technology company because they were really good at mobile ordering. So like, what is a tech company these days? So it's a very good question. I love that this just poked through like this little island reversal you have here. And in that time, we broke some key levels. So this was a great time for bears to get short, for people to get stopped out. And then 2 days later, it's like it never happened. So you have shorts looking to cover, you have people who got stopped out of their position, or funds that had to exit their position for whatever reason, or to control risk. They're more inclined to get back in now that it's above the line in the sand, all that. And that's what causes that reaction. We always say false moves lead to fast moves in the opposite direction. That kind of catching it off guard, that's kind of what leads to the fast move in the opposite direction. So,
right. And you usually see it go back to the former highs there. Like that's what I'd be looking for.
Yeah.
Maybe even breaking through it.
Right. Isn't it funny how a lot of the times you'll be trying to hit a level, and then you'll break down, and you'll false break down, you reclaim that, and that will be the move that finally breaks it. And we've seen it time and time again. I'm sure I could think of some example. Apple, I think, is a great example of this, where we tried to tap on this top end of this range several times, but it wasn't until we broke the lower end of the range that we were able to break the top end of the range. So some of these failed moves can really lead to something nice. What were we just looking at there? Uber, right?
Yeah.
So I like that we have this move. I don't think it's done yet. I don't think this false move is done carrying through to the upside. And what I was talking about here is I'm looking for this move to bring a new high. A false move like that should carry us back to the all-time highs and beyond. So with this one, I got my target here. Let me put it in a weekly chart so you guys can see. Right around this 90 level. And I drew it as a range. I used the, and I get this question all the time, like, how do you draw your Fibonacci extensions? Do you use highs to lows, or do you use closes? And with this one, I did both. And that gives you a nice little range. One is the intraday, high to low on the Fibonacci extension. So you draw it from the wicks to the wicks. The other one is close to close. So you have that nice little range there. So if it starts getting in there, that's when you want to think about selling, right around anywhere between 85 and 91. So
right. I like that, Patrick.
Yeah, and
Fibonacci analysis is far from perfect. So
what's that?
Fibonacci analysis is far from perfect. So
absolutely. Yeah. And that's
just to have a general range.
Yeah. I think people who probably have never aren't familiar with Fibonacci, they probably look at us, putting money to work based on these Fibonacci numbers. They probably think we're crazy. But I think it's what you just said, it's not an exact science, but it gets you in the right neighborhood. And that's the most important thing. You're not always going to get it to the penny, but when you're around the right area, that's what you want to be.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Ford, Patrick.
Sure.
Serby wants to look at Ford. So this is a classic auto manufacturer. It's currently $43 billion. Not the best chart. You've got something like GM.
Yeah, so GM's been getting a lot of love lately. Have you been seeing that?
Yeah, it's completing a primary trend reversal. Makes sense.
A lot of these dinosaur blue chips, like Ford, GE's having a nice comeback year.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Wow. Who would have thought GE would be doing what it's doing? I guess those spinoffs did the trick.
They did, yeah. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
So this one, I'd like to see it reclaim this $11 at least. I would call it $11.50 really, before I would get long. I do like that it kind of reclaimed this junk here, but it is a messy chart, and the trend is pretty flat right now.
Yeah.
And the way I was taught it is stay away from stocks with flat 200-day moving averages if you want to avoid headaches. And that's been pretty good advice throughout my career so far. Just when there's no trend in play, I mean, that's what we're doing as technicians, right? We're trying to identify a trend that's going to be in place long enough to profit off of. And when the trend's just flat, that's when you get whipsaws. That's when you get, that's when your technicals don't work, right? A lot of the times when you don't have a trend in place. So
right, it's somebody else's problem whenever there's not a trend.
Right. Yeah. But if you really wanted to play this one, I would be using these November lows from last year as a guide. So if it's above there, and you could use it on a closing basis. So if it's above not $10, nice easy round number there. You don't have to put your stop right at $10. You can put a little below or above if you're a little superstitious like me. But with this one, it's not my favorite here. Yeah.
No. Let's move on to
doesn't mean it can't move higher, but
you want to look at ARM now, Patrick?
ARM, yeah, sure.
So this is a British semiconductor stock, $142 billion.
I haven't really been following the whole saga here. So they went public this year or last year, right? Within the last year.
Yeah, looks like September maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been successful. I mean,
yeah. So how much is it up from the lows there?
Successful IPOs. It's been so long since we saw an IPO. That's actually above where it went public within the last couple of years. So kudos to this one. They must be doing something right. As far as where I would get any comments on this, did he say time frame or anything?
No, nothing. Not much to do here, really. You could drop a whop from the all-time high there, maybe?
Yeah, I like to see this reclaimed. It looks like this is kind of acting as resistance. I wouldn't be surprised if we go down here and make a new low. But you were saying VWAP from the peak?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's a great guide, because if it does reclaim this, the VWAP here, that's like your confirmation, right? That'll get you into the trade. So looking for this to reclaim the trend line and then using that VWAP as confirmation and playing it back to the all-time highs if you're looking for a long setup. Oh, sorry. Which one? What was the ticker? We were
ARM. ARM.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we do get rejected here and we do make a new low here. RSI, not great. I mean,
no.
We're hanging out
there.
Yeah, in the lower ends here. So, outside of a catalyst, this one's tough. This one could go down and test the lows.
Yeah. We were talking about good IPOs, Patrick. Let's look at the Shark Ninja.
Shark Ninja. Wow.
I love this chart.
Yeah. What's What's the ticker for this?
SN.
SN?
Yeah. So this is a $13 billion stock. They have this thing called the Ninja Creamy, which I'm obsessed with. You can just like turn anything into ice cream or a slushie overnight.
Listen, I'm a slushy guy, so I'm interested.
Margaritas too. It's so good,
Okay.
Patrick. I
All
love
right.
it.
And they also do what? Vacuum cleaners,
Vacuums,
and,
yeah, a
like,
bunch of
kitchen
appliances.
Okay. Somebody I follow, they were commenting on this stock and they were like, if my son named a company, that's what they would Shark Engine.
Yeah.
So, it does have a pretty badass name.
Yeah.
But anyway,
High and tight flag here though.
high and tight flag, yeah. That's why we're joking around with this one because it's a beautiful chart here. So we can. High and tight flag, you want to look for this to resolve. I would probably look for a break of 92 to confirm a breakout, or you could just buy it here and then throw a stop at the lows of this gap around 87. And if it starts to fill that gap, that's when you know it's working against you. But this one looks good, and you could look for a target in a couple different ways. You could just fib out the decline that kind of led into it. So this is probably not going to give you very much.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah, look for 98.87. Or you measure out this move. So this was that's 70 to
20 points from
90.
here.
So yeah, 20, 21 points. So
Well, that
add
gets you the
onto
$100 roll, you know, go 10, 15 points past 100.
There you go. You want to
That
talk
make a lot
about
of
the
sense.
$100 roll? Because you and I know what it is, but a lot of people don't. So
Yeah, no, it's a classic technique. I think floor traders really were the first ones to use this, but whenever the stock reached a big round number for the first time, like 100, 200, you wouldn't see it stop there. You'd see it
right.
roll past
Yeah.
a few points.
And that's true. That's true. And of course, anecdotally, this isn't set in stone. It's not a rule, but it's a good guide. And you see that happen with a lot of different round numbers where like 10 will get you to 15, 15 will get you to 20, 25 will get you to 50, things like that. So, I'm sure somebody's done a study on it. I'm sure we could go back and back test it if not, but it's one of those things where you listen to some old traders and you just take their advice and then you observe it enough.
Yeah.
And it happens enough times to where you rule out the role of luck, right?
Right. It's like Fibonacci. I have no idea why this works, but I've seen it time and time again, so I'm going to use it.
Right. Is it the fact that it's a self-fulfilling thing? Maybe. I give it, yeah. At a certain point, you give up trying to figure out why. And I think that's a good thing just in general in financial markets. It's dangerous to be curious sometimes as to why price movements happen. These things are very complex. It's never what you hear on CNBC. It's not the market's down because Biden sneezed or something like that. It's multifaceted. There are so many reasons that buyers and sellers are doing what they're doing. Maybe they're approaching retirement age and they have to take money out of the market because of required minimum distribution or something like that. There's a million reasons out there, and it always drives me crazy when you hear so and so, the market did this because of that, and Powell said this, and so anyway.
Ignorance can be bliss, Patrick.
Absolutely. It's good for your health.
It is, yeah. Well, do you want to wrap it up here, Patrick?
Yeah, we can leave it here. Any what were your favorite charts?
I kind of cherry picked Shark Ninja.
Okay. All right.
No, I like the Uber though. Uber's good.
Yeah, I think I'd have to stick with Uber too, and that's one that we just keep coming back to, and it's been good to us. So
right,
I like the Uber, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there pretty high short interest when Uber was about to break out back in? I mean, it might be hard to check now, but back when it broke out, I remember. Maybe I'm thinking of Sprouts. I know Sprouts, that was true.
Yeah, I think you're thinking about Sprouts. I don't think there's ever been much short interest in Uber.
Okay. I thought it was like, it wasn't extreme, but maybe it was, I don't know. I'll have to go back and check, but beautiful chart, beautiful base breakout.
Yeah. Lyft has the short interest, 14%.
Really?
Yeah. Doesn't
Man,
look like
what a
Uber though.
oof. Yeah, couldn't have more opposite looking charts.
Yeah.
Man, that's a clear Paris trade right there. Yeah, going short Lyft. I've said it for a while. I think Lyft needs to buy DoorDash so that they can properly compete with Uber. But
I think
uh,
Dash would buy them.
yeah,
Dash is
dude, that
54 billion and Lyft is less than 5.
really,
Yeah.
Sam, you might be onto something, man.
I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Yeah, yeah, right. You got to imagine they're probably thinking the same thing too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Lyft.
well, let's leave it here for today. Sam, thank you so much. You are doing great at this. We'll have to get you onto the charts one of these days, maybe next week.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But in the meantime, please be sure to email us your tickers. We always like seeing them, even if it is the South African rand or some of these exotic
Right.
things. We always appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to join us again on Tuesday. Again, my name is Patrick Donawilla. We got Sam here. Hopefully he'll join us next week too. Thanks again. See you guys soon.
Thanks, everybody.